hate my job. The other thing was that they, in their inward process of really deciding who they no longer wanted to be, like if I really could live my life again and live again, how would I live differently?
Check one, check.
So for me, I was back on my feet in 10.5 weeks. They wanted to put me in this huge body cast. I was better, I was done. So I couldn't go back to business as usual because I was initiated. I have a very scientific mind, so I just kind of sold everything and left and went to the Northwest and started over again. And I wanted to take some time for myself and ask the big questions. If that truly happened, how did that happen? And is there anybody else has that happened to anybody else? So I had to start studying epigenetics and neuroplasticity and psychoneuroimmunology and electromagnetism, quantum physics, and it just was this kind of exploration for me. And I started getting closer to the understanding, and then when I started interviewing people that had spontaneous remissions from diseases that were treating conventionally or unconventionally, staying the same, and all of a sudden got better. Once I studied and found the commonalities amongst these people, and it was really about the mind. It was really about breaking the habit of being themselves, their old self, and reinventing a new self. The other thing was that they, in their inward process of really deciding who they no longer wanted to be, like if I really could live my life again, and live again, how would I live differently? Do I really want to be an attorney? I hate my job. I don't want to be an attorney, I want to be an artist, right? So you see these people make the transition by choice to stop being one person and start being another person. And in their inward process of thinking about how they do want to think, how they do want to act, how they do want to feel in their new life, they had long moments where they lost track of space and time. Their inward experience became more real than their outer experience. And it caused me to spend a lot of time studying the frontal lobe, which is kind of the workshop of the brain. That's where we focus, where we have intention. That's where we have attention, it's where we have free will, we restrain our behaviors,
Judgment,
we
reason.
invent, we speculate. It's the creative center, right? And then that fourth thing was that they believed there was an intelligence that was giving them life that they would trust and surrender to.
What does that mean? Let's just stay on that idea for a minute. An intelligence, because you've mentioned a few times like making contact with intelligence.
Well, whatever that consciousness is that's giving us life, that's within us, that's happening I'll say scientifically, the autonomic nervous system, the limbic brain, right, is the seat of all of those biological functions that keeps us in homeostasis and balance, right? The neocortex, the thinking brain, is the analytical mind, and a lot of times that's what kind of gets us in trouble, right? So they had a belief, and independent of religion, that there was some intelligence that was giving them life that could help them in their healing process. Now, there was a spectrum involved in that, but the similarity was that it was within them.
So the intelligence is within.
Within.
So for somebody who might be a spiritualist or follow Christian doctrine, God is within.
Yes, if that is the word a person would want to use, yeah. So there came a period of time where I was in a documentary, and the documentary became really popular, and people started asking, well, how do you do it? And I think this is a time in history where it's not enough to know. I think it's a time in history to know how, right?
Correct.
So I thought, okay, I studied all these things. I went back to school and studied neuroscience and just got really into it. And then I was like, okay, if it worked on these sick people, let's see if we can reproduce an outcome. And so for the first couple of years, we didn't really see much. I was doing these one-day courses and two-day courses, and people were feeling better at the end of the weekend, but no real big changes. Then all of a sudden, it just started happening. We started seeing the most amazing changes in people's health that really challenged my belief. And so when we started seeing people have remissions from very serious stage 4 cancers and Parkinson's disease and MS and ALS and spinal cord injuries and all kinds of crazy things, that's when I knew it was time to measure. And so we organized a group of scientists, and now I work with University of California, San Diego. And so when I started seeing the outcomes, Michael, and they were unbelievable. They were literally unbelievable to me. Like, I was shaking my head, like, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. And I knew that when a person has an inward experience where they're in a certain health condition, and then after we use meditation as, and we'll talk about that, demystifying meditation in a way that allows a person to learn how to make an inward experience really, really real. And so I knew that when a person got up out of a wheelchair with MS, right in front of me, like something was happening in there. Something was happening inside of them that was very profound and very real, right? And it was an experience, right? So we organized, we've got over 20,000 brain scans. We have fMRI scans. We've measured thousands and thousands of HRV measurements. We've measured gene expression. We've measured microbiome. We've measured 2,882 metabolites in blood. We've measured immune regulation. We've measured tears. We've measured breast milk. We've measured everything you can possibly imagine. And the idea is, what happens when a person completely immerses themselves in a community that's interested in change and transformation? And that's what we teach. We teach the process of change. We use meditation not to heal. We use meditation to change. And when you change, you heal, right? So the science has been so compelling because you can't call it pseudoscience anymore. The data is so profound that it shows that, as an example, the studies that we've done demonstrate that the human nervous system manufactures a pharmacy of chemicals that works sometimes better than any drug, and it's within you, right?
Interleukin,
all kinds of amazing things.
Yeah.
And is it possible then to upregulate genes for health and downregulate the genes for disease? And if you teach people in a very simple way the philosophy, the theory, the information, the knowledge, and they can learn that information. Learning is making new connections in the brain, as you know, but the research also shows that if you don't review it, if you don't repeat it, if you don't think about it over and over again, those circuits prune apart within hours or days. So we set up these large events with thousands of people from all over the world, and the information is so tantamount for them because it's what they're going to do with it. They got to do something with it. So when they learn the information, then they have to teach it back to the person next to them. They have to be able to explain it. And if they can't explain it, it's not wired in their brain. So as they remind themselves what they learned, they're reproducing that same level of mind. And nerve cells that fire together wire together. And the more you understand what you're doing, and the more you understand why you're doing it, the how gets easier, because you can assign meaning to the task. And when you assign meaning to the task, you turn on that prefrontal cortex and it wants an outcome, right? So they're installing the neurological hardware in their brain in preparation for the event. So if you can set up the conditions in the environment and give people the proper instructions, and they can get their behaviors to match their intentions, their actions equal to their thoughts, they get their mind and body working together and initiate that knowledge, they should have an experience, right? And the experience then enriches the circuitry in the brain, but the end product of the experience is called an emotion. And then when you feel unlimited, or you feel grateful, or you feel empowered, now you're teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. So the information is no longer in the brain, now the information's in the body, right? So the person's embodying the truth of that philosophy. So this is kind of the journey, what we do. So then we're measuring what's taking place inwardly. Now, if you can go for 7 days and keep reproducing the experience, neurologically and neurochemically, you're conditioning the mind and body to begin to work as one. And when the body now knows how to do it better than the mind, now it's, implicit, it's innate, it's automatic, it's easy, it's familiar. We've become that knowledge, right? And so the person's in a different state of being. So we have to go from philosopher to initiate to master, from knowledge to experience to wisdom, from mind to body to soul, from the thinking to doing to being, learning with your head, applying with your hands, knowing it by heart. And we discovered that it's the overcoming process that is the becoming process, because 95% of who we are, by the time we're in the middle of our life, are a set of memorized, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions, the automatic and unconscious habits and behaviors and reflexive emotional responses. So it's that unlearning process, that 95% of being unconscious, getting conscious. And if a person's able to do that, if they're able to reconstruct and reinvent a new way of thinking, a new way of behaving, a new way of feeling, will it be reflected in their biology? And we've discovered that the majority of people that go through a week-long event, it's not like a small percentage. There's a community effect that's taking place.
I think the reason people change is because of pain. And I don't think it comes from inspiration. I think it comes from a position that I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's pulled right out of an AA, pamphlet somewhere. But when there's enough pain that a person feels that they say, it's got to be different. I can do different. That there's a better way. Can you help? Or can I go inward and figure out a better way? I don't think we do anything alone. So I think that you're onto something really powerful about doing it together. But this idea that people are in change, that people change because of pain, I don't know if you agree with it or not.
I do. I think when we're brought to our lowest denominator, whether it's crisis, disease, diagnosis, loss, betrayal, it doesn't matter. You reach this lowest denominator where nothing is making that feeling go away. No vacation, no TV show, no friend, where that feeling is
the alcohol,
constant.
the drugs, the numbing,
the drugs,
it's
the
not
alcohol,
working anymore.
Nothing is making that feeling go away. And I think this is a really important moment for people because they don't feel like themselves. Nothing in their environment, in their outer world, is making this feeling go away. And this is where they start, for the first time, observing themselves, that idea of metacognition. They feel so different than the way they normally feel that they can view themselves through the eyes of someone else. This is the moment where they can all of a sudden go, oh my God, look at the way you've been thinking. You've been saying, I can't, it's too hard, I hate this person. Those thoughts have consequences. You can say, oh my God, you've been complaining, blaming, you've been a victim, you've been judging, making excuses, feeling sorry for yourself. Oh my God, look at you. Like it's that lighting the match in the dark place. And then you can say, oh my God, I live the majority of my life in hatred and anger and fear. Oh my God, that's not loving to me. But no one is going to you're not going to listen to anybody when they tell you that. You're going to bump them off, right? But this is kind of when the soul kind of give you a little nudge, like this is your moment, right? And
you're doing this by helping them observe themselves, but more specifically, helping them observe the intimate thoughts that they're having in said moment.
Yeah, or
the emotional experience.
Yeah, so I'm curious. We see that the brain changes the most when you get beyond, I can't, I'm too tired, I don't feel like it, I want to quit, this is too hard, I'll never make it. When you get beyond, like people who are curious, what's on the other side of that thought? They're stepping into the unknown. Mm-hmm. A person who says, oh my God, I want to be happy, why am I spending the majority of my day complaining? Well, complaining is not going to make me happy, it's going to make me unhappy. And then, oh my God, this emotion that I live by every day, emotions are just a chemical record of the past, right? So if I'm living...
What does that mean, a chemical record of the past? Because I have emotions in the present moment.
Yeah, you can. All I'm saying is when a person's... let's pick an emotion.
Frustration.
Frustration.
Pretty
Frustration
easy.
is a great one.
Mm-hmm.
A person feels frustration because of an experience that happens or has a series of experiences that happen in their life. The stronger the emotion that we have to some experience in our life, the more altered we are inside of us. The disruption in our chemical continuity causes the brain to freeze a frame and take a snapshot or a series of snapshots, and that's called the long-term memory. So that the memory is embossed in the brain, right? And the chemical
If
that's
this thing
created-
happens again,
Yeah.
something like this happens
yeah,
again,
Yeah. So if it happens a few times, and then you review the event, you keep remembering the event, you're producing the same chemistry in the brain and body as if the event was occurring. And the body's so objective, it's the unconscious mind, that it does not know the difference between the real life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that person's fabricating by memory alone. To the body, it's exactly the same. So the body's reliving the trauma 50 to 100 times a day. So it's a thought and a feeling, it's an image and an emotion, or a memory and emotion. It's a stimulus and response, and you're conditioning the body to become the mind of that emotion. And so now the body, the servant, is now the master. So the body has learned it, and it's automatic. And so you're sweeping your environment just to look for something to actually cause you to feel frustrated. So the hormones of stress become highly addictive.